What are you expecting to take place in Paris? How much progress can they make?
Tom, we should sort of remind people what this meeting is, because we've had so many summits, basically emergency summit every single week. This is the summit of the sort of coalition of the willing, so-called. About 31 nations are going to be represented here. This is sort of a lot of the EU nations, but it's not just EU. Some NATO members, you're going to have the Canada represented here as well, Norway, and this is all basically about collective defense efforts within Europe. And what we're sort of expecting here, because this idea of the coalition of willing is still somewhat fluid, we're not entirely sure willing to do what. What it has to do is with security guarantees going forward for Ukraine. We know that the U.S. administration wants to take a smaller role in any kind of long-term durable ceasefire in terms of the peacekeeping operations. So this is a chance for European leaders to actually put meat on the bone and explain how many troops are they willing to commit and in what capacity. Critically, Tom, this is one of the great questions. I spoke to the Lithuanian president last week, who said for the very first time that they're willing to commit troops. They don't have the exact figure yet, but these are the sorts of conversations that we're going to be having here in the Elysee, Paris, in this sort of coalition of the willing that's been organized by Keir Starmer and Emmanuel Macron, really front-loading and really spearheading these efforts for the new sort of paradigm of European defense.
Ollie, what is the expected US response? What do we understand about the way that Washington is thinking about the UK, largely, as you say, the UK and France's efforts to put together this coalition of the willing?
Tom, I mean, you ask, I think, a very, very good question, because to a large degree, it's not even clear that the United States is going to get on board with a European force within Ukraine. I mean, I think the idea here is to give Trump a sort of menu of different options of what the Europeans are willing to do in order to sort of win goodwill with Donald Trump. But we don't know to what degree he's able to, what degree he's asking for these things explicitly. We don't know to what degree he's going to be on board with Putin's demands, which, by the way, he said no European troops in Ukraine in sort of a durable ceasefire situation. So again, a lot of this stuff is sort of making policy into the dark, and part of it is, listen, this is what the Europeans need to do for their own good without sort of Trump being involved in terms of kind of what his demands are. But as you say, Tom, it's not very clear. There's not a huge amount of communication between the Trump administration and European leaders, and for them, it's really just trying to come up with an architecture of of their own sort of strength and being able to stand up in sort of a situation where they're not getting a whole lot of comms from the U.S. administration, apart from the very broad strokes from what we're hearing from the administration.